Welcome to the Kingdom Corner, man. We are geared up for the regular season game. So Dale, we got the Ravens coming into town for the opening game against the defending World Championship Chiefs, back-to-back champions too, I might add.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who the scheduler is up there in the NFL headquarters, but my goodness, could we start out with an easier game next year?
Apparently not. They want us to be hot right out the gate, and we
Yeah.
got it hot against the Ravens and Bengals to start the season. So today we're gonna be going over the Ravens matchup, uh, going over what we think might happen. Maybe looking back to the championship game, the AFC championship game last year against them. Man, and then a little news segment we have coming up for you, Dale, which we'll
Oh
share
man.
more about that here later. But stick with us as we jump into this.
Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking right side. He wants it. A comeback cut. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown! Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions.
How about those Chiefs?
All right, Dale. So first thing I have to ask, so the rosters are set now. Everybody's got their teams and their players lined up. There could be trading, yes, we know that
Yeah,
still,
yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah.
but for the most part, our teams are lined up. So a couple things to take note of. First off, Hollywood Brown's going to be out for at least this week, maybe one more. We'll find out, just how he progresses there. But then in more recent news, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be out for, it looks like, a minimum of 4 weeks, put on the non-football related injury report.
Okay.
So he's out, but we still got Pacheco in there, still got our rookie and Carson Steele signed Samaje Perine this week, or not this week,
Man.
but recently too. So as much as I love Clyde and his team attitude, uh,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be okay in the running back department.
Oh yeah. Some might say we upgraded.
So, some might. Hey, and
No.
those who listen to our previous podcast, we even mentioned talking about final rosters, some
Yeah.
people who might be on the bubble, such as a Kadarius Toney. And what do you
Yeah.
know?
Got
Kadarius Toney no longer on the team, and they re-signed Juju Smith-Schuster, which we
yeah.
also kicked around, but said we'd be open to that. And here we are.
Here we
I
are.
mean, it's almost as if people should listen to this
Uh,
podcast more.
well, who's to say
Or
they're
if
not? Who's to say
hey,
they're not listening?
sounds like Brett Veach's.
There you go.
Hey, if no one else, Brett Veach is tuning in, catching up. But here's the one thing I want to talk about too is kind of Chiefs related, but not a Chiefs player. Josh
Uh-huh.
Jacobs. Did you hear about this guy?
No, what
Where he
happened?
goes, he signs with the Green Bay Packers, and the last week made the comments that the Chiefs apparently offered him a contract, and he refused to sign with the Chiefs because, in his words, he couldn't ever imagine playing for someone who used to be his rival or is his
Wow.
rival.
Man, he's got to understand the NFL business.
Hey, here's what I'm saying. Do you really think if Josh Jacobs, if the Chiefs offer him the, let's just say the top paid,
Yeah,
make
yeah.
him the top paid running back, that he's turning that down?
No.
I don't think so either.
Well, I don't understand people turning down. Who would want to play with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid and Brett Veach and all those guys and say, "Hey, I've had an opportunity to win a Super Bowl."
People that don't want to win championships, I guess. So
He want
Josh
to go
Jacobs made the comment, said, I haven't ever been one of those guys who want to just go join the winning guy. I want to be the guy that goes out there and proves myself and wins it for myself. So, I mean, I can understand and
Yeah, I can
appreciate the
get. Yeah,
determination in that.
right.
But here leads to my real question. Do you think there's really rivalries in the NFL anymore? And I don't mean
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
we know the Chiefs and Raiders, Chiefs, Broncos,
yeah,
Steelers, Ravens, and Cowboys, Eagles, and some of these teams, there are rivals in these games, especially for us
yeah.
fans.
Right.
But looking at from the players' perspective, do you think there's many rivals between players anymore?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit. I mean, I think there's a sense of respect for sure. Like they respect each other and they're playing, But I think there's a real rivalry between the Bengals and the Chiefs, where they don't like them and we don't like them, or they don't like us and we don't like them.
Yeah.
And the same, I think, if Buffalo would ever beat us in the playoffs, I think that would. I think I think there would be. I
Throwing
think
a
there would
little
be.
shade there, but all
Yeah, I
right.
think there would be something there as well. And so, but I think really there's a strong dislike for the Bengals and the players. I mean, Jamar Chase won't even say Pat Mahomes' name. I mean, that's crazy. And then, and just
Yeah.
all the things he says. And then you got Joe Burrow saying he's the greatest. And, just a lot of nonsense out there. And so it'll be interesting to see week 2 playing the Bengals. Yeah. So yeah, I think there are rivalries out there. But not as passionate as used to be like in the 90s with the Raiders. I mean, there was
Yeah.
hate.
Well, and I'm just thinking even back, even beyond football, there used to be some real rivalries across sports. You think of the Michael Jordan days,
Yeah.
right? And Isaiah Thomas, right? If you
Yeah.
know much about basketball,
Oh,
you told
yeah.
me you're a basketball guy last week, how you messed up your finger. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
but but here we got, Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas back in those
right.
days where it was alluded to at least that when the dream team was put together that they didn't invite Isaiah Thomas because Michael Jordan said he didn't want him to be on the team.
Right.
I don't know if that's true or not, but you can look at even interviews they do now. They
Yeah.
still don't like each other. Like to
Right.
this day, we're talking, 30 years after their playing careers are over.
Right.
Maybe not quite 30, but you know what I mean.
Close. We're
Uh,
getting old. We are
I
getting
know
old.
it's getting there, but those guys still don't like each other to this day. Do you think there's any kind of rivalry like that today in the NFL?
Mm, man. No, I don't
Other,
think there is. No,
I
I don't.
don't, I don't think there is either.
No,
I,
I don't
I
think
think there's
so. I'm
some
trying to think.
players that don't like each other.
Right.
There's some teams that might not like each other, but not to the extent that there used to be
Yeah. Back
back
in.
in the day. And I
Right.
know that is an extreme situation that I brought up.
Well, I would
But
say like Derek Thomas and Neil Smith hated John Elway, right? I
oh,
think there was like they did not care.
uh,
They didn't care. Well, Neil Smith did go play for the
that's
Broncos,
what I was about to say. Well,
but
and
Derek Thomas
Derek
wanted to rip
Thomas.
out. Yeah, he wanted to rip off everyone's head.
Yeah, and Derek Thomas even made mention of something along the fact that he was not a fan that Neil Smith went to play for them either. I mean,
Yeah,
hugely disappointed in that. So,
right. Yeah. So
but
yeah, it definitely is a thing, but yeah, not so much anymore. Everyone's friends. Everyone's vacation together, working out together,
I
trading
know I
jerseys.
can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Can't imagine it. So, anyways, we won't keep harping on that, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
throw that out there since that was something in recent news. So the Chiefs and Ravens are playing this Thursday to kick off the season, 7:20 p.m.
Man,
Arrowhead Stand. Gonna be dropping the new banner, raising the new flag, all
there you
those things
go.
from a Super Bowl. And so, but this is a rematch of the AFC Championship game last year.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs in the championship game to go to the Super Bowl. Do you think this is um, this rematch game, is it a revenge game for the Ravens?
So I interesting you bring that because I saw an interview with Lamar Jackson the other day where he's like, "Hey, whatever happened last year happened last year. Whether we beat him or we lost to him, there's no revenge. We're just worried about one game at a time." And so they seem like they're focused on like, "Hey, we got a job to do." But of course, in the back of their mind, they got to be
Yeah,
thinking, "Let's get back at them." And so this is a really interesting matchup because I think both teams are totally different than last year.
yeah. Well,
And I know we'll get into that. Yeah, I know we'll get into that. But yeah,
and I think most of these teams, they're going to say the right thing when it's
right.
their time to say the
Oh,
right thing. Like when they say, "Is this
yeah,
a
yeah,
revenge game?" They're going to say, "Oh no, no, no."
yeah, yeah,
Then in
yeah.
their heads, they're thinking, "Oh, absolutely, it's a revenge
Yeah,
game."
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you think about just the things they did. The Ravens hardly didn't even run the ball,
Right.
especially in the second half in that championship game. And now they have Derrick Henry. So, like you just pointed out, it's going to be a much different
Yeah.
team we're playing this game.
But
The Ravens also had 2 turnovers
oh
in
yeah.
the end zone. They had 3
And
total, but
yeah,
they had 2 turnovers in the end zone
man,
even.
you're just giving me flashbacks,
Hey,
flashbacks of that game.
let me
Oh
give you a
man.
few more things. The Ravens had a bunch of costly penalties. They had 5 15-yard penalties for personal conduct, like
Yeah.
roughing the passer or taunting, and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So they had 5 of those. So those are just mistakes that you bring on yourself. That when you have 15-yard penalties and that nature, they had 5 of those in one game. In that game too, Willie Gay didn't play, and we talked about this
Right.
in our previous episode of, what are we going to do without Willie Gay with Tranquil stepping in here? Well, in that game, it was Tranquil and Bolton. So
Right.
just throwing that out there for you too.
Well, they also didn't run very much, as you earlier mentioned, that there wasn't a lot of running going on. And so Willie Gay services were not needed.
Well, Drew Tranquil had a few stops behind the line of scrimmage, I will say.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. I love Drew Tranquil. I'm glad he's the Chief.
Hey, me too.
He's So
All right, well, let's
go
jump
Irish.
into this year's game. So
All
Mahomes
right.
and Lamar Jackson. Mahomes is 4-1 against Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Uh, that's a big stat there. So
That's
everybody says
that's huge.
this is a big matchup for them all. And you point out before something's a rivalry, let's make it a
Yeah.
rivalry. You got to win a few games here,
Yeah,
right?
won a few
So
games.
so now, in fairness, there's only been 5 games between the two of these guys, and they
Right.
both play on offense, as has been pointed out before. So these two
Yeah.
guys themselves aren't playing against each other, but we always compare quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah. And they're leading their teams. So they're leading their
Yeah.
teams to the victory, and they have opportunities to put points on the board. And if you don't put points on the board, then you're not going to win. So there is a little bit where I think you can compare quarterbacks. How does one adjust to the pressure, what the defense is doing? And, it's like a cat and mouse game really for them. And so for the two quarterbacks. And so, yeah, I think you can compare and like, hey, you did not step up. And I think Lamar Jackson, how do I want to say, did not show up in that playoff game and did not have his best football. And that's kind of like the sad part. You kind of want to see the best football happen, but how much of that was Spags and the defense, just tricking them and making them think like, hey, this is going to be a run, so I'm going to auto to a pass. Obviously, we don't follow the Ravens like we follow the Chiefs, so we don't know the ins and out of what the Ravens organization was trying to do that game. I mean, God love them that they were trying to beat us in the air. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and this year they say that Lamar Jackson has even lost some weight. So and purposefully lost some weight. So
Okay.
I'm just thinking, I don't know how that bodes well for him unless he's just thinking that he wants to be more of a pocket passer.
Yeah.
And maybe since they have Derrick Henry, he thought, I don't need to put on or keep as much weight on because I'm not going to be running as much. Now,
Right.
if they do decide to take that out, I think that's kind of foolish of them to take away his dual threat. And I'm not saying that he's not going to run at all, but maybe they're not going to have as many designed runs for him. But that's just speculation, is all that
Right.
is.
Right. I mean, he is once he tucks that ball, I mean, watch out.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Yeah. Well, and Lamar Jackson is over his career has proven that he doesn't always show up in the playoffs.
Right.
Like that's the time of year that he doesn't show up the most. And so
Yeah.
in the regular season game, it might be different. So, and because we're opening with them, this game is going to have implications, or at least could have implications for the very end of the year when we get to the playoffs and where the Ravens or the
Yeah.
Chiefs are seated. Especially if we have a tie record and it comes down to this tiebreaker game. So, to your point earlier, is like, whoever set the schedule, they set the schedule coming out hot. So these
Yes.
are two teams that are going to be competing for the number 1 spot in the playoffs. At least that's what we project them both to be.
Yeah. And then you got the Bengals right there. So I mean, like
Yeah.
you're right. You're exactly right. I mean, they're going to beat up each other, the Ravens and the Bengals, but also those just two teams could be 1 and 2, and so
Yeah.
big implications as you mentioned. So it's
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, we're 48 hours away, which is crazy.
Man, I can't believe it. Getting close. So what are your realistic expectations for the Chiefs this year?
Undefeated season, Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah, realistic right here. Undefeated Super Bowl. First time ever to three-peat and do it in an undefeated season.
Yeah, I mean, why not do something Tom Brady has never done, and we'll do 2 of the things he's never done: undefeated season and three-peat. So that sounds like all right to me.
I'd be all for it. So, hey, I do think, as I mentioned before, I think the Chiefs' offense is going to be dynamic this year.
Yeah.
And even without Hollywood Brown, I think they still have a lot of pieces.
Oh, yeah.
We just talked about the running back room. I think that room is loaded. I'm not saying it's the most talented running back group in the league, but they got so many different people now with Pacheco, with some guy who just runs anger. But then you got Samaje Perine, who's a bigger guy. He can, push the ball through. And so we'll see how much playing time he gets because he's been here just a short amount of time. But
right.
And same for Juju too. The plus side of Juju's, he was here just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so he might know at least some of the system and be able to pick up at least a few things easier just because he knows some of the terminology already. But as it is every year, the playbook is different every year. So you still have to relearn
right.
or learn for the first time all these things. So I think the offense is going to be dynamic. You got Xavier Worthy, you got Rashee Rice, who looks like he's not going to miss any playing time this year.
No.
Next year, probably a different story, but this
Yep.
year
Different
should be all
story.
right. Hollywood Brown when he comes back. Then you got Juju still. So I mean, those are 4 guys that I think any team across the league would love to have on their team. And then let's not forget, we still have the future Hall of Famer and Travis Kelce too.
Oh yeah.
So
So
we've said this before. I was thinking, how do you stop a team like this? And there's
I
not
don't
an
know.
answer for it because I don't know that you can unless we just stop ourselves more than anything.
Right. Well, and that's why I was like, especially the Ravens. I mean, their game plan is going to have to be, hey, let's slow down Pat Mahomes, and I don't think he's going to need a lot of possessions. I think he's going to score fast, and which obviously goes against us with the defense being on the field for too much. And so we need to have some of those slow drives, and then we also need to have some of those quick drives. I think so.
Yeah,
It's going to be fun.
And speaking of the defense, I think that's the biggest question mark for the year. I mean, I know
Oh
last
yeah,
year we had one of the top defenses,
yeah,
probably number 2 in most stats as far as sacks and points allowed and all those other things, right behind the Ravens too. So
yeah.
the Ravens lost a lot of
Yes, they
players
did.
on defense, so they're going to be interesting to see how they play it. But I think our biggest question is cornerback.
Yep.
I think that's
Snead
our
was a
biggest
huge
question.
loss.
It was.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And then a lot of people don't know that McDuffie's moving from the slot to the corner. So slot cover guy to the corner cover. And so that's different parts of the field that you're covering. And so it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts. I think he'll be fine because he's a gamer for sure. And so
Yeah, McDuffie's not the one I'm worried about.
well, I know that. Connor, I think they're going to step up. I think Spag's going to have the boys rolling because a lot of these guys are like second year, third year guys now, where they're kind of learning the system, figuring it all out.
Well, and let's not forget too, a very underrated guy in that Chiefs secondary is Justin Reed.
Oh
So
yeah.
I know you're not quite as high on him as I am, but Justin Reed is much better than he gets credit for.
Well, I mean, he can kick field goals. I mean, congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no, yeah. No, I'm just
Hey,
saying.
you know what? I'd like to see you to line up for the Oklahoma drill and just see what happens.
He's a professional athlete. I'm a pastor.
Exactly. I want to see what happens. So,
There
all
you
right.
go.
So what are your score predictions for this game?
Man, what is I think the last time I looked was the Chiefs were favored at 3.5 points, right? At home.
That's the last I looked. Yeah.
Okay.
I think if I remember correctly, the over under was somewhere around 45.
45. So
I might be making that up, but I feel like that was correct.
all right. Give me, I mean, the score prediction. Chiefs gonna win. It's going to be 24-17.
All right. So I think it's going to be much higher scoring than that. The championship game last year was only 10-17, but it was a colder game up in Baltimore.
Right.
I think the Chiefs offense is going to get up to a hot start. I think it's going to be 31-24 Chiefs.
Whew. All right. I hope you're right.
Hey,
that'd be awesome.
Everybody's scoring high though. I think that Chiefs defense is going to figure a few things out, especially with Derrick Henry trying to stop him and Lamar Jackson. And I think that's the key to the game for the Chiefs. If the Chiefs want to win, they have to contain their run and force them to pass the ball. And so Zay Flowers, is coming to a second year as a wide receiver now.
Well, fumbled on the goal line.
The Ravens. I know, but that's my point. He's going to have, or at least want a revenge game as much as anyone.
Yeah.
He had a huge 54-yard catch in that championship game down to inside the 10, but then he got the taunting, brought him back 15.
Yep.
And then a little bit later, fumbled going into the end zone. So
what a play.
He's got, and that was Snead that caused that too.
Yes.
So lost that guy. But Zay Flowers is going to be one of those guys I think that's going to really want to get a little bit of revenge for some of his bonehead mistakes. So anyways.
Yeah, I'm excited to see our defensive line. I think would go your point where, hey, we got to stop the run. I know last year we struggled. Our defensive line struggled. I mean, our linebackers were great and they did a great job, but our defensive line really struggled against the rush. And so I'm going to really want to watch that. And then also the addition that they got this week, Cam Jones, I think is his name. Is that right? Who'd they pick up?
I thought wasn't in Cam Jordan, I thought.
Cam Jordan, that's right. Jones, CJ. They got Cam Jordan. And so I think that's going to be a big time for us, and hopefully we can get some pass rush because that was another thing we talked about earlier on the podcast. Hey, we might need some defensive end help.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, for someone like Brett Veach is tuning in every week and just listening and
Yeah,
hanging on to every word
yeah,
that we
yeah, yeah.
say here. So,
I
yeah,
don't know about that, but
well,
yeah,
I don't know either. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It'd be
but
nice to
Cam
think about.
Jordan, is it Cam Jordan? Now you're saying that. Now I'm questioning it too. But
Well, I can look it up as you're talking.
all right. Well,
CJ, just call him CJ. I know
all
it's
right.
C. Yeah,
This guy that came over from the Arizona
Cardinals.
Cardinals, right? He's
Yeah,
a former third round pick. The Chiefs only had to give up a seventh round pick for him. But the other thing is, well, I just hope the Chiefs can get his full potential out of him because I believe last year only had 2 sacks for the Cardinals. So he's out there a lot, but he's not necessarily generating a lot of pressure. But maybe if he
yeah,
has Chris Jones and Karl Loftus on the other side, maybe that'll help open him up a little bit more too. But my expectations for him are not high, just because of his what he's produced so far in the NFL. But I'm
right.
hoping that he proves me wrong and that he ends up being a huge piece for the Chiefs. So, but he'll be a good rotational guy
Oh yeah,
with between Felix and all those other guys. He'll produce as much, if not more, than some of those other guys. But
yeah.
we'll see what happens.
So there is a Cam Jones, number 44 for the Chiefs.
All right, maybe it is Cam Jones. Maybe I'm just making things up here.
There is a Cam Jordan that played for the what you would call it, the Saints. Remember him? Cam
Oh,
Jordan, big
yeah.
Cam Jordan. So yeah, that
All right.
was.
All right. Well, I'm just getting all my players confused here.
That's all right. Too much
So,
information, baby. It's okay. It's all right. It's
all right.
good.
Well, let's bring us to our next segment here. A
Okay.
new segment. So this is a
All
trivia
right.
segment / history segment that we're going to be doing each week. So I'm going to ask Dale a hard question, and he has to try to figure out what the answer is.
Okay.
If he doesn't get it, they'll all just give him the answer,
Oh,
and
phew.
then we'll do a little history on some of the things. So because the Chiefs are coming into uh, the potential to three-peat here and coming off of back-to-back Super Bowl wins, this one's going to
Yeah.
be a little easier for you, I think.
Okay. All
So
right.
we'll see. So what active player has the most Super Bowl wins in the NFL?
What active player? Joe Tooney.
You're correct. Hey, you got that much quicker than I thought you would. I thought I'd throw you off a little bit there, but
Yeah, I would just say because he couldn't have because I think yeah
he got
he's got
one with Brady in New
yeah,
England and 3 more here in Kansas City. So
there you
he's
go.
got 4. The after him, the most active is 3 with a lot of these Chiefs guys. So
Yeah. So I think Mahomes is the only quarterback with a ring that's still playing, right? I guess. Oh no, never
no,
mind.
Matt Stafford's won one
Yeah,
recently.
Matt Stafford, that was the one, but I think he's the only one, right?
Is Nick
Russ
Foles
Wilson,
still playing somewhere? Yeah, Russell Wilson. But
yeah,
is Nick Foles still on the roster somewhere? I'm
and
assuming
he
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 is.
does not count.
Well, he
He
has the
does
ring and he's a
okay.
quarterback.
Starting
He
quarterback,
hey,
starting quarterback.
he was the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl. So I'm just going off what
Oh,
you
that is
said here.
true. That's true. Carson Wentz has a Super Bowl ring then.
It's true he does, but he wasn't the starter in that
Okay,
game.
well,
He was injured that year. So
that was your
yeah,
easy question. I mean, Joe Tooney. That was like I was
yeah,
just trying to think of a
that's
Patriot that's still playing. That's all I did, and I'm like, oh, we have a Patriot that's playing on our team, so it has to be.
yeah. Well, there's not too many guys. Even uh, beyond Tom Brady, none of the Patriots guys have more than 4.
There you go.
So
Wow.
even
Oh, like
those,
Jules and Randy Moss. Randy Moss didn't get one, did he?
no, he was on that year that they went undefeated and lost. So yeah. All right.
Man,
Well, there's your trivia for today. So a little history for you real quick.
there
Brady
you
has
go.
7. No one else is close to him. And then 3 players have 6, and they're all from like the 60s and 70s. And
Okay.
then there's 13 players that have 5.
Okay.
And so then when you get to 4, it gets
It,
it adds
sped
up
up.
real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
So there you go. Well,
yep. So no one
man.
has very many outside of Brady and some of these older guys. So, but talking about the three-peat here, the Chiefs have the opportunity to do something that has never been done in the NFL, as you've
Never been
already
done.
alluded to.
Yeah.
So there's already been 8 teams before them that had the
Yeah.
opportunity to three-peat, and none of
Yeah.
them have even got back to the Super Bowl.
8 teams?
8
Did you?
team, 8 teams have won back-to-back Super Bowls before, so
Oh,
they had
okay. Yeah.
opportunity to three-peat, and none of those 8 teams reached the Super Bowl the next year.
Is
So,
this a trivia question?
no, this is just good history
Oh,
for
okay.
you.
All right. All right.
Just
I was
talking
gonna
about
say,
three-peat stuff now.
yeah. I was gonna
But
say,
since you brought that up as a
yeah.
question here, I'll give you a question. So there's 8 teams that had the
Uh-huh.
opportunity to three-peat before the Chiefs. How
Okay.
many of those 8 missed the playoffs the next year?
Man, I'm gonna say half, 4.
Pretty close. It's 3. 3 of
Oh,
those
3 of those
3 of
teams.
those missed the playoffs entirely the next year.
Wow.
2 of those lost in the divisional round. So 5 of the 8 didn't even make it past the divisional round.
Wow.
And the other 3 lost in the conference championship games in the playoffs.
So they didn't even make it back to the Super Bowl to
Not one of
defend.
them.
Not a
Not
chance.
not one of them.
Okay. So
So
the
the
Steelers, the
closest they got,
Cowboys, the 49ers, the Rams,
the
the
Packers back in the
Patriots.
day,
Oh, the Packers.
the
Yeah.
Dolphins
The
back in the
Dolphins
day.
back in the day. Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
The
That would have been
Broncos in the
yeah.
90s.
Oh man, the
The
Broncos
Steelers had the opportunity twice in the
twice.
70s.
Yeah.
So,
There
yeah,
you go.
here's your
But
trivia
man,
for today.
wow. All right.
In the future, they're not going to be quite that easy, and
Wow.
make you think a
Who
little
said
more.
those were easy? Who
Hey,
said those
well,
were easy?
okay, maybe they're not easy. Maybe
All
they're
right.
not.
All
Maybe
right.
you're just an
I'm just
um, exceptional guy in your Chiefs history.
there you go.
So,
So what do you think? What do you think are the odds of them repeating? I mean, I know I kind of joke with undefeated season, we're getting a third Super Bowl, but I mean, a lot of it is all luck, right?
oh yeah.
So I bet if we were to look back at those teams, either they lost players or someone got hurt in the middle of the season
Well,
or something,
every year you have a
Yeah.
different roster, so
Yeah.
it's like a whole new team every year, and then
Right.
and you have a few key pieces that are still there every year, but for the
Yeah.
most part, it's a new team. You'll never have those same 53 guys on the same team ever again after 1 year.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way with rookies and people moving
Yeah.
out, people retiring, signing new guys, other guys signing elsewhere.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen anymore. So the chances of them three-peat are slim because it's the chance for somebody to win the Super Bowl in 1 year is slim.
Slim,
And
hard.
so to win it back to back, harder.
There you
There's a
go.
reason no one's three-peated because it is hard to do. It
Yeah.
is a difficult task. So if anyone has a chance to do it, do I think the Chiefs have as good a shot as anybody? Yeah, absolutely I do. Because I think this year is going to be kind of going back to where Mahomes was in his first few years, where he's going to be maybe even expected to score more points than the other team can
Yeah.
put up.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying our defense won't be okay, but I don't know that they're going to be as dominant as they were last year. And that's okay if you have Patrick Mahomes and people who can put up a
Right.
lot of points. And I think they
Yeah.
got the pieces this year to put up a lot of points. So
I hope you're right.
if I had to put a number on it,
Yes.
the chances of them repeating are probably about, well, I guess you have to say with the chance of them winning a Super Bowl this year. So chance of them winning a Super Bowl is probably somewhere around 40%.
Whoa. It's a lot higher than I thought you would say.
I mean, I was kicking around 25%, but then I was like, you know
Hey,
what?
Jamal Charles, your favorite player ever.
I don't know about ever, but he is a good one.
Yeah.
What do you think are the chances of the Chiefs repeat?
Oh, 87%.
87. Oh, you're way high. Way high.
Yeah, I just think as long I mean, like health has a lot to do with it, but I
Yeah,
think
it
this
does.
and then experience, I think I think right now, like everyone's scared of the Chiefs. And so I think they come in a healthy game. I mean, the 49ers have lost twice to the Kansas City Chiefs, having a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl and still losing, and so, I mean, like, and then, yeah, it's just, they can just, the Mahomes magic turns it on. I mean, is the magic ever going to go out? I hope not, but it could. But yeah, I think they have a great shot. And I think why they have such a great shot is because that's what they're focused on. They're not giving you I mean, maybe Andy Reid in the season will be like, hey, one game at a time. But I mean, Pat, Travis, all those guys were talking about how they're gearing up for the three-peat. They're looking that I mean that's their goal is to win 3 in a row. Do something that a team
Yeah.
has never done in NFL history to make history. And so yeah, I definitely think they have a great shot at doing it.
Yeah. I mean, they were talking about the three-peat while standing on the podium receiving the Super Bowl this last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
talking about three-peating. Said, hey, no one's ever done it before. I want 3.
Yeah.
Just they're openly talking about it. So some
There you
people
go.
think that's good. Some people think it's not good. So now we get into the season. You're not going to hear them probably talk about it near as much.
No.
You're going to hear say, hey, focus on this week because
Right.
and it's almost cliche to say that, but it's also the truth. If you don't handle business this week, you're not guaranteed the next week. You're
Yeah.
not guaranteed that you're going to win X amount of games to make the playoffs and make a run to the Super Bowl. And if the Chiefs can make it work to host those playoff games versus going on the road is always better for them.
Well,
If
it
you
doesn't
get
matter. We proved that last year. It doesn't matter where we
well,
play. Just
it
line the ball up.
it doesn't. But if you can bring a Miami Dolphins to
Oh, yeah,
Kansas
yeah, yeah,
City
yeah,
in
yeah.
negative 13-degree weather, I'm going to
Right.
take that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so it's an advantage for the Chiefs. So we're excited for this week of
Yes.
football finally being back. The Chiefs, Ravens kicking off the NFL season this Thursday night at Arrowhead in Kansas City, Missouri. So this episode is brought to you by Ohe Threads, where a portion of every purchase goes to support missions all over the world, one super soft tee at a time. You can find them online at ohethreads.com. And we'll see you next time right here in the Kingdom Corner.